I've done your work for you. And speaking of that, on the phone with me right now is the man himself, Rob Cornilles. Hi, Rob.
Good afternoon, Bill, and thanks again for coming last night. That was really fun to have you here.
It was great. I had so much fun talking to people, but more than that, I got to actually sit and chat with you for a little while, and I know you're busy, and you took some time to talk to me, and that was so cool, and I just thank you for that.
No, it was so good to have you because so many of our staff members are fans of yours, and so they were thrilled to be able to meet the celebrity here in the campaign headquarters, and we had supporters here as well who listened to your program. So thanks for spending the time to come up. I know it was not an easy drive for you, and we had to kick you out last night, as I understand it, because you were just having too much fun.
I kept calling people. Well, I went through this dry spell where I kept getting answer machines, and then I started getting people. I'd say, "Hello, this is Bill from the Cornilles Click." And I'd say, "Lady, I didn't get to say anything yet." So I went through a dry spell, so I had to stay an extra half an hour to make up for it.
Well, we'll tell my mom next time you call to stop doing that.
Quit doing that. Yeah, please. Stop.
Yeah.
Man. Okay, so this ad, I think, so far, this is the best ad you guys have done.
Well, thank you. It needs to be said. People need to know what the alternative is. If we don't put someone in this seat who's actually got experience creating jobs, as I have, who's friendly to business because they know that small business creates jobs and moves our economy, then what we're going to have is more of the same. We're going to have someone who not only defended and campaigned for and tried to cover up for David Wu, but largely would vote the same way he would, and he did. And that's not going to help this state. It's not going to help this district.
No, and the thing that really struck me, I did a whole show the other day, Rob, about negative ads. And I think, some people might look at this, very few, but might say, oh, that's kind of a negative ad. Justin and I were looking at it, and we looked at it over and over and over, and I said, do you see that as a negative? He says, no, I mean, you're quoting what she said, and you're showing her with David Wu, so why is that negative? You're just showing the truth, and then you come on at the end and tell about what you're going to want to do. I've played it for several people, both audio and video, and they've all agreed, no, that's not a negative ad. A negative ad is, Rob Cornilles eats children. That's a negative ad, okay? And
hey, don't give them any ideas,
Oh,
Bill.
Okay, sorry. But, I mean, that's the difference between what you're running and what she's running.
Well, it's true. That ad quotes her from local newspapers. She's never disputed having said those things. And, in fact, the picture was taken from her old campaign website when she was proud to tell people that she stood behind David Wu in 2007, despite the things that we knew about him in 2007. And so, and when people talk about negative ads, here's something I got to tell you and your listeners.
Yeah.
The fact is, since August 4th of last year, when I announced my candidacy, the other side has employed people to do nothing but make my life miserable, or at least they've tried, including David Wu's old press secretary, the chief cover-upper. And these people have been sending press releases and all kinds of things to the media almost daily since August 4th. And they've also harassed my employees at my corporate headquarters. And yet on January 4th of this year, we ran our first contrast ad saying, here's what Suzanne Bonamici has said about taxes, the fact that she has never seen one she voted against. Here's what she said about fee hikes. She's never seen one she voted against. Here's her no record on job creation. And so we've only been showing the contrast for 3 weeks. They've been doing it now for almost 6 months. And enough's enough. People need to know. People need to know that this establishment, this machine, is trying to buy another election, largely out of Washington, D.C. We cannot let it stand. It's time to say we are moving in a new direction, or as the ad says, we need a fresh start.
We talk about it a lot here on the air. We talk about how, okay, let's say I'm just going to guess that the large majority of the people listening may not be in CD1, but they definitely know people. They have friends, relatives, etc. But I've said this race is so important, obviously for CD1, but for all of Oregon and for the United States. Because, Rob, if you pull this off next Tuesday night, the ripple effect will go all the way to the White House. I'm telling you, President Obama is going to be watching this thing next Tuesday night.
Well, here's some news, Bill. I'll break it on your show.
All right.
President Obama is already watching this race because his campaign office is sending a memo to Oregon Democrats asking them to do everything they can to help Suzanne win.
Whoa.
So now even the president's campaign is involved. The AFL-CIO is sending memos to their members in Oregon and also nationally saying, we need help in Oregon's 1st District. What they're not saying is, our candidate's not doing very well, meaning Suzanne Bonamici, and so we need you to step up because we're not putting her out there anymore. That's not helping the cause. So please make phone calls, contribute money. So we are definitely getting the attention of people national, and we are certainly fighting the machine. That's why every volunteer that can come up from your district, from Yamhill County, Marion County, even though Yamhill's in our county, you have a lot of listeners in Yamhill.
Yeah.
We need those people to come up and help us.
Yeah, no doubt. You know, and that you make a good point. If Washington D.C. is getting involved, you know that if they're doing it now, that means there was a time period up to now where they were kind of, well, this is a done deal. I'm not really worried about this Rob guy. And all of a sudden, something's going on because they're all getting busy and involved now. And I don't think it's just a, let's wait till the last minute plan. I think they're shocked.
Well, the fact is, and this is a little bit of inside baseball, but my opponent, we know that she and the Democratic Party of Oregon and probably the DCCC in Washington, D.C., they have done and continue to do polling on this race. They've never once released those poll numbers. That means they don't want voters to know what's really going on. So instead, what they do is they release millions of dollars in attack ads against me, lying about my record, lying about what I've said, lying about my business and my business practices, because that's the only game they understand. They don't want to talk about job creation because Suzanne has no experience at it. They don't want to talk about high taxes because that's all she knows how to do. So instead, they fall back on what they think is the template to win campaigns. Let's just attack the opponent. Let's minimize him. Let's demonize him because, after all, he's nothing but a small business owner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Last night when I was on the phones, one of the things that I noticed as I was calling people, now if you remove the amount of ones that I'd got that was just an answering machine, okay, so take those out of the equation, take out of the equation the very, very few, but a few people that just did, like I said, they didn't want to hear what I had to say. They didn't care where I was from. They just didn't want to talk, period. Take away those. In my mind, the internal polling that I did, the calls that I made, it was about 5 who said either, yeah, I've already voted for Rob, or I'm about to vote for Rob, to about maybe 1 who would say, I'm voting for his opponent. It was pretty steady all night. It was about 5 to 1. And the only thing that I really felt at that point that I had to do was, if you have voted for him, did you turn it in? And here's when you need to. And if you haven't voted for him, don't forget, and then turn it in.
And that's great advice. And I would tell your listeners, yes, we're calling Republican households, but we're not just limiting it to Republicans. I'm sure, Bill, you called some people who are unaffiliated voters.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and you called Democrats as well.
Yep, I did. I had a very nice conversation with one lady who said, I'm a Democrat, and I've already voted for his opponent. And I said, okay, well, thank you, and I appreciate your time. She said, well, that's okay, though. I appreciate your kindness. And I said, oh, well, okay. No problem. So it was interesting.
That reminds me of a funny story someone just told us this morning. One of our volunteers was on with a gentleman who's a Republican. He says, my wife's a Democrat. She voted for Rob's opponent, but the ballot came back because she didn't put a stamp on it. But when it came back, she had since learned things about Suzanne Bonamici. So when she got the ballot, she tore it up.
Oh.
And said, I'm glad my ballot didn't get counted. I don't want this lady to win.
And so now he's going to vote for you, and so that's, instead of a trade-off, you got to vote.
Absolutely.
That's great. All right, well, what I'm going to do, after you get off the phone with us, we're going to take a break, and we're going to play the audio from the ad so folks can hear it. And then, of course, we're going to continue. You and I talked last night. I want you to tell everybody if they don't live in CD1, but they feel like, dang it, I want to get involved, what should they do?
There's 2 things. Well, 3 things. 1, send emails to anybody you know in the 1st District. and ask them to do what you suggested. Vote, and then get in and help us. Second thing they can do is if they themselves if they can drive up to Beaverton, Raleigh Hills, where our office is located, and give us an hour of their time, any time between now and election night. We need it. We'll welcome them. They'll have fun. There's food here all the time. And the third thing is, if they can go online at cornillesforcongress.com and contribute $10, $20, $25, that will help us make sure that the ad that you're going to hear after your break, apparently, Bill, that ad will be playing as much as possible in this market, because that's what we need for people to know versus a job creator versus a partisan politician who's being bought and paid for by Washington, D.C.
All right. I like it. And by the way, the boss here at the station said that the invoice will be in the mail next month. He's going to wait and see how it goes before he sends the bill.
Okay. Very good, Bill.
All right, Rob, again, we'll talk before this thing is through, and I look forward to, hopefully I'm going to be able to come up there and hang out with you on Tuesday. So.
Awesome. We'd love to have you here. And until then, we'll all continue to work as hard as we can, because so much is riding on this one.
It is. All right, Rob Cornilles, have a great day.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye now.
Rob Cornilles, running for Congress, CD1.